Aloha! Welcome, Ulukin, for our continuation of Onu, Unihipili, coccyx, sacral, lumbar. We are in the time of our Unihipili to uncoil the wings, release our internal feminine of confinement. It's been so fun in my own experience. What has been really showing itself and revealing itself as far as any potential disruptions within my own relationship with my internal feminine. And I'm sure many of you have your own stories as well. Before we go into any of the discussions and then into our longer duration of Onu as a group today, of course, we have with us Kumu Bradford Ikemanu Lam. Aloha Kumu. What mana'o would you like to share with the Lahui today?
So the thought that I want to share with all of you today is pilina, the word pilina. And pilina is to mutually sustain relationships, not with only other people, but with yourself. And in this practice, it's very important to pilina, to tighten up, to care about yourself and care about others, to harness your emotions. So Polina is about in this work, Ulu, you only cannot only do it like once in a while when you feel like it. It's a practice. It's a process. And that process is all up to you on how much effort you want to put into this practice. You know, Keoni has given and Kapuhi Nano has given us this really beautiful gift, a makana, as we would say in Hawaiian language, a makana, so we can give back to who we are as a person, and so we can once we harness that, yeah, once we have pilina, we can also give back to our community. And that's really important for all of us to really understand that, oh yeah, Pilina is not about, oh yeah, let's just do it. I'm gonna just do it when I want to do it. Uh-uh. Do it every day. It's a practice. It's a process. And every day is going to be different. Every day your process is going to be changing. And once you come into that understanding of your vertebrae and your Ulu practice, then you would probably understand who the person you really are. And that's mutually sustaining your relationship with yourself. So mahalo. I'm 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 looking forward to the new year and hearing about your relationships with yourself and how it builds pilina with yourself and how it gives you that mana, yeah, that power. Because once you do it, once in this practice, you keep on doing it and doing it and doing it, you become a stronger person. And that's the goal. The goal is to be a stronger person so we can harness our emotions and we can give back to our community and we can care about others. Mahalo. I love you. I love you, all of you.
Yes, mahalo. Thank you so much, Kumu, for Pilina. And when Kumu speaks into cultivating and maintaining sustainable relationships, of course, there is an invitation to cultivate that sustainable relationship with your unihipili, with your internal feminine. And perhaps before we go into our design, our group design of Onu, we'll do a little refresher of what those potential powers of the internal feminine are so that we can be ma'a, we can be aware of it, especially as we, transition into this Gregorian New Year and perhaps start to cultivate the plans of how to enact certain things in our lives, that we ensure that the Unihipili is that which is informing the actual infrastructure of all of that. I would love to do a couple things before I invite Kapuo Hinano Kauikalai on. One is I will love to bring in my kupuna. Ua ke oni, ua ka apa o ka lani, ua e lia, ua ka apa o ka lani mahi ai, ua na ho o pi I hau ka maka ko huki lani lono hiwa kaula, ua moe ke ahi lilinoi ke ahi ena, ua vivi hoi va'a, ua ordashe, ua uro alat, ua pa ipsi, ua dharma ikshe, ua lauda, ua ikshfahan, ua mahat, aloha ma, aloha ma, aloha ma. In my culture, when you say ua before a name, you're creating a verb of that name. And so when I say ua before the name of my relatives, I'm creating them as something that is living and active right now. My lahui, I would love to guide us through kulike so that we can all gather and be present with one another as we engage in onu. The first thing that we may do in kulike is we may choose to land. Plenty distractions. Land. Your life is not in imminent danger. Land. When I feel into landing, I am removing myself of fixations of a past and cravings for a future. I deem this current moment sufficient. For me, there's nothing more interesting than this current moment. At my huelo, my tailbone, I feel this very generous tug. This tug, also known as sacred gravity, ute taumaha, is connecting me to the iron crystal core of this planet, to the inner earth waters. I remember that my relationship with gravity and with the inner earth waters is not a punishment, nor is it an imprisonment. I remember that this has been designed in mutual consent, and I am one of its engineers. I choose to land. Only in this landing can we make contact with these energy centers. I'll ask that we lift our right hand. In lifting our right hand, we are in recognition of thoracic, uhane, our internal masculine. Let's restore uhane to its rightful throne, that of the pu'uvai, or the heart space. Place that right hand over your heart. Let's take a deep inhale through the nose and hold. Holding this breath, applying this oxygen in the pu'uvai. Let's fill this chamber with oxygen. Let's be generous with our thoracic. And exhale through the mouth. In this exhalation, feeling the relaxation of the internal masculine. Removed of competition, comparisons, urgency and belligerency, restored as the hero. Here in the pu'uvai, I offer a mantra of our hero. Pa vale pu'uvai. I open my heart wider. Mahalo, uhane, thoracic, I love you. Keeping our right hand over our pu'uvai, let's now make contact with our internal feminine, coccyx, sacral, lumbar. Let's lift our left hand. Let's restore the Unihipili to its rightful throne, that of the Na'au. Let's place that left hand over our sacral. Let's you and I take a deep breath in through the nose and hold. Holding this breath, applying this oxygen in the Na'au, in the coccyx, sacral, lumbar. Let's be generous with our Unihipili. Sip one more breath. And exhale through the mouth. In this exhalation, feeling the proliferation of the internal feminine. Removed of neglect, condemnation, obscurity. Restored as the leader. Here in the Na'au, I offer a mantra of our leader. Uamalu. I am safe. I decide. Mahalo. Unihipili, coccyx, sacral, lumbar. I love you. And now that our hands are in the proper position known as kulike, a moment to integrate this right relation between the noun and the verb, the unihipili, the uhane, thoracic, coccyx, sacral, lumbar. Lahui, there is recognition that the right relation between the thoracic and the coccyx, sacral, lumbar is the affluence and exaltation of the cervical vertebrae, Aoma Kua. We honor this kulike by uttering 3 times the Aloha Ma. And on the third utterance, ensure for the opening of the crown, for the buoyancy and the levitation of the affluence of the Aoma Kua. Aloha Ma. Aloha Ma. Aloha Ma. Ross, the best adjustment. It's the best adjustment. Right relation is the best adjustment. We have with us, thank you, mahalo, mahalo. We're now present to be with one another. We have with us our sorceress of ceremony, Kapoi Nana Kauikalai. Aloha Tita.
Oi, aloha everyone. I hope all of you had a beautiful Mele Kalikimaka Christmas. You know, there's always this dissonance between religion and Christmas and that whole definition, but whatever Christmas means to you, think of the actual word, the Christmas, right? It's the Cristo, it's the celebration of this sacred oil that's coming within us. Santa Claus is the claustrum that goes down the chimney, the shushunna, down the jed to leave us gifts if we don't squander our oil, if we are good or bad, right? When we are good, we are left with these gifts so that they can be resurrected back up the chimney to the crown. The symbolism of the Christmas tree with the star at the top, right? It's the pine cone, it's the pineal gland, and the star at the top is the illumination that we're all here to receive. So I'm going to go through the tones, and you can kind of visually use Christmas as a guide of visualizing Santa coming down the chimney to leave us gifts, to be resurrected back up, going through the vagus nerve, through the medulla oblongata, to the pineal gland, the pituitary, and this brightening, this illumination that happens as we balance both right and left hemispheres of the brain. If all of you can sit erect, allowing the spine to be straight, the crown to be tugged and tethered up with an invisible string of light. Allowing the breath, the oscillation of the breath, if you feel comfortable using the mitochondria breath. With the Christi, right? It's the Cristo, the movement up and down. As I oscillate through each of these codes and the activation in our remembrance to unlock, to plug in, and to ground it, to root it into Mama Gaia, like all the Christmas trees rooted into the earth, right? Everyone take a deep breath in and allow all of the inner waters to pull up into your kino as your inner waters remember these tones and these activations. I will oscillate the unlocking. I will slow down this time on the plugging in so you can hear each tone. And then I will oscillate it back down as we root it into Mama. Take a deep breath in and release. Kaluko halion hiva imikuma shegra esh unja hesh. Jotkolampatse nutreshvo immunut gesta ut hex ama ra. Feeling into the oscillation of the unlocking as it's moving up. As we plug in. Ha, lu, ko, ha, li, on, hi, fa, I, mi, ku, ma, she, gra, ech, ja, hesh, jutz, gol, pa, se, nut, resh, vo, se, immenut, gesta ut, hex, ama, ra. Let us plug in. Ra, ama, hex, gestut, immenuts, vo, resh, nuts, pa, gol, jut, hesh, ja, ech, grashe, ma, ku, mi, iva, hi, on, li, ha, kolu, ha. Feeling the roots dive deep into our inner waters, grounding us in with the codes. The scattering and then gathering as to fulfill the polarizing landscape, resulting in the expression of the mother whom instructs the breath and the light, which produces the animated self, presented as the reckless gods or wide open laughter, to determine the highest potential in its convergence of the code of levitation and self-reflective brilliance and self-reflective love. Allow each tone, each code to be imprinted in the EVI, in that alchemical function that we are so blessed to have within us. We are all magic. Remember, we are the magi that lies within in our remembrance. We are part of God consciousness, which makes us a part of Kamianana Ihana. We have the gifts that lie within. Let us bring those gifts back up in remembrance through our heart, to share it, to honor it, to share it to ourselves and ourselves within our bodies. Remember who you are. Mahalo kia kua na o makua na kupuna mauloa, amama wanoa. Aloha ma, aloha ma. How's everyone feeling? Activations. So within the comments, if any of you guys can share what you've been experiencing going through this ulu design called Onu. If any of you are moved to share, please tell us, like, Are there any blockages that you may be experiencing through sharing these practices? Is there anything that has come up for you that's been the most profound? I would love to hear if any of you have anything to share, and I can read them in the comments. Cat, my spine feels like it is elongating. I love that. Yes, elongating to the crown. Anyone else have anything else to share? Long-awaited spine release. The inner feminine is screaming at times from a long lineage of being held back, learning to listen better to her needs. I love that. Disillusion into light in this moment, star formation, very out of body. Big mother wounds coming up, which has been reinforced and supported by a journey I'm doing. Sorry, the comments are going in and it's going up. My thoracic was wide open. There was a lot of space in my pelvis, walking so much easier for long periods. I am a seaweed frond undulating in a sea of the me'ane'e. Ooh, beautiful. Divine and peaceful. At Amma, I had to cry, touched deeply. Love that. Glowing light activation of the glands in my head. Blockages being recognized, honored, released, and received. Mahalo. The release of ways I have been slowly killing myself and being revealed on the deepest levels. I truly believe I belong and I am safe and is making the process sacred. I respect myself. Wonderful. A lot of grief and noticing the spaces to delve in and heal over time, ancestors, collective, and in my own experience. Ooh, the shedding, right? We're coming into snake year. Painful but necessary, seeing and feeling so much light. The arthritis in my neck is greatly deceased and I have more range of motion. Oh, I love that. My wings felt tethered and clipped, but as I practice more and more each day, I feel my wings soaring, becoming stronger. Rebirth. Oh, lots of rebirth. Clarity and grounding. Higher clarity and transparency. Ooh, ecstasy. I love that. I love that everyone's kind of going through this like igniting and purging, but also this like refinement, this connection to the quantum, buoyancy, feeling more available for this practice. As the three centers become more and more coherent, it's changing everything, still releasing, and really, I love that, releasing. Vertebrae has been cracking, releasing tension, pain, feeling incredibly light in my alma kua, feeling the frequencies of the community, capacity multiplied, feeling empowered, feeling more grounded and controlled. Mahalo. Mahalo for all of your shares.
Yeah, mahalo. Thank you so much. Kupo Hinano, thank you so much for guiding us through the tones. And thank you, all of you, for sharing sort of what you're experiencing with Onu. The uncoiling of the wings, it's a moment of triumph for your Unihipili, for your internal feminine. And if I may just remind us all sort of what the powers of the feminine could potentially be, because we covered this in one of the previous ceremonies. Remember with the coccyx, it's the upside down triangle. It's the shape of stability. And so it's the Unihipili, it's our internal feminine that affirms for us our stability, right? Presence, awareness, belonging. The symbol of the feminine is the upside down capital T. This is in Mu culture. This is also in Chinese hieroglyphics. And it's the symbol of autonomy. Autonomy means my right to exist. And so that upside down triangle, the coccyx, that's sort of what we get to reconcile. What is blocking me from my acknowledgement and recognition that I have a right to exist? Because if we take that, right, autonomy, and we try to put it into the thoracic vertebrae, the masculine, guess what the masculine is going to do? It's going to try to earn it. That's why you're likely in fatigue and exhaust. It's because you're trying to earn belonging. You are already belonged. Once that can be affirmed, then we rise to the occasion that is the sacral. And within the sacral, what we discussed and what came through is that the sacral has a lot of these codes that correlate to our ability to cope. Permeability. This is a world of contrast, and the contrast can be so incredibly, it could cause many of us to become unhinged. Especially if there is senses of insecurity, because then, right, and unsafety, because then everyone has to believe in what I believe in, otherwise this world is not safe for me. And then I spend my entire life trying to manipulate or bully or shame others to believe exactly what I believe in because I don't know how to cope. And that's likely the experience because you're subjugating your masculine to that, not your feminine. Your feminine knows diplomacy. The feminine knows how to be permeable. And you know, when you come to a space where you are unhinged and you're getting to that point of hysteria and you're about to shut down, and remember, shutting down is not always literally isolating. Shutting down is also becoming aggressive, violent. Now you're shaming others. The Unihipili in that sacral, it will be supported by that coccyx, right? And so that ability to cope is one, let's be very present and aware right now. You'll notice that you're actually in a projection when you become unhinged. You're not even present. And here's a really fun practice that has been so effective for me in my life. And I'm going to invite you to just begin to play with this. When you come to places of hysteria, of complete feelings of not feeling safe, of feeling insecure, of course, the first thing you can do is observe your immediate environment. Get practical. Stop projecting the danger, because then you're bringing it in. Get practical. Observe your immediate environment. You may notice that within your immediate environment, your life is not in imminent danger. You are experiencing discomfort and inconvenience, and thus translating that as a crisis. So distinguishing between a true crisis and a mere inconvenience is so important. And you can do that by just observing your immediate environment. Is anything about to destroy my physical body right now? 99% of the time, you will discover no. And then what I do from there is to thunder my body, to bring a code into my body, because the nervous system is so agitated that it's in every single direction. But now, I place my hands in kulike and I will say over and over again, I'm coping. I'm coping. I'm coping. I'm coping. Dude, it works. Trust me. I've been in situations where I would have otherwise completely shut down because the nervous system was shattered. Bring myself into kulike, observe my immediate environment. My life is not in imminent danger. I'm coping. I'm coping. You converge within your sacral vertebrae. The sacral has the codes of coping. It allows you to exist in a world of contrast without feeling so threatened by contrast. What is required in order for a rainbow to even exist? Contrast. It's like, the tail, right? People, everyone wants to inject into this thing called the 5D. Many people are not aware it's actually happening right now. But you want to eject into this thing called the 5D because the 3D or the world of contrast is so threatening or so dangerous to you. What is required, right? And what is the 5D known as? It's known as rainbow consciousness. Contrast is required for a rainbow to even exist, right? So come into proper fluency of your beliefs and your ideas. Because if you don't have proper fluency of your beliefs and your ideas, I'm not trying to put anyone on blast. This has been me before, okay? But you're likely living in some sort of, gosh, how do I want to say this without being so direct? Maybe it's best to just be direct. You're superficial. You're being superficial. You exist in a superficial world without proper fluency of what your actual experience is. And this is all feminine kaoha. This is feminine authority. Get present now. Once you're present, you will begin to observe and discern. That is one of the core principles of actual diplomacy, which the feminine is. It's proper discernment. Discern, observe your immediate environment and proceed from what you actually observe, not what you're projecting. If you always have to project, that's likely a sign that you're existing within your thoracic vertebrae, so there's no foundation. Then we come up to the lumbar, and the lumbar is that space. Remember, it carries the weight of the entire body. And so the lumbar is where we're supported. I feel the lumbar as the place to where I experience that initial buoyancy. I'm held. I'm being carried. And this is even, right, the depiction of the mother is always carrying the child. It's like as you mother yourself, are you carrying yourself? Right? Or did you just leave yourself somewhere? What kind of mother are you? What kind of mother am I? Am I just leaving myself on the ground? Or do I pick myself up and carry myself? I pick myself up and I carry myself. And if there's any moment that I want to put myself on the ground again because it's just too hard to be a human being, I'm coping. I'm coping. You notice I start smiling, right? Oh my goodness. I was a drama queen. Just being a drama queen, bro. Coping, yes. And so that is, when Kumo was talking about Pilina, creating a sustainable relationship, those codes within the Unihipili, come into fluency so that you can have a sustainable relationship. So really, the efforting that you will experience is just maintenance. It's just maintenance. That's one of, I would say, the key factors in affluence. Remember, affluence means to be in flow. And to be in flow for me, it's to be in the elegance of maintenance. Therefore, all the non-essential efforting is excused. I don't get so distracted in the non-essential efforting. Okay. I do want to go into, or just share with you something really beautiful before we go into our group design of Onu. And because Kapuhi Nanakawi Kalai sort of started to bring it up when she was talking about the Christos and what's happening within the physiological body that has a lot of correlation to not just Christianity, but to a lot of other ideas and philosophies. But a reminder of what the elegance of the wat-et, that oscillation up and down the spinal cord. And remember, when I say spinal cord, that includes the brain, masses, and glands. That's part of the cervical vertebrae. And what is happening? What is the wat-et? So, we have the pineal and the pituitary. Pineal gland is very masculine. Pituitary is very feminine. So we have this feminine and masculine masses in our head. And they secrete a fluid. The pineal, the masculine, secretes it's like a golden or yellow clear fluid. Some call that honey. The pituitary secretes a fluid that's white and opaque. Some call that milk. Milk and honey. Now, what happens is when there's a secretion within those glands, they converge at this little mass within our brain that many people have no awareness of, and that's called the claustrum. And like Kopo Hinano Koi Kalai was talking about Santa Claus, right? It's called the claustrum. And these fluids, when they meet within the claustrum, what happens is they become indistinguishable from one another. It's like a grand mixing where they're just indistinguishable. It becomes, in a way, very androgynous. And what happens from there, it's released from the claustrum, and then it mixes with the EV-vi, or the cerebral spinal fluid. What happens at that moment of contact is you've just become aware of your essential oil. It's the human essential oil. Now, it needs to drip down every single vertebrae. As it drips down every single vertebrae, it is enlivening. And remember, we went through the codes, right? There are codes in every vertebrae. So as it drips down, it's going to begin to activate, enliven, 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 enliven. It's still dormant, though. When it just drips down, it's like knocking. Knocking, 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 knocking. It has to be resurrected. It has to be shot up in order for it to actually go into what we would call disclosure. And once it's shot back up, it's like now we have access to something, okay? Because this is such a beautiful, sophisticated protocol, that doesn't yet mean that we can comprehend it. So now we have access. It's shot back up. It's like, oh, I can access it, but I cannot comprehend it yet. So what happens when it rises, it's resurrected back up, there's going to be a kind of pressure that this fluid, this sacred fluid, this human essential oil, applies back to the glands. It has to meet the pineal and pituitary again. The pineal and pituitary are surrounded by, it's like salts, or the most microscopic crystals. The fluid has to apply pressure back onto those glands to incite what is known as the piezoelectric effect. Piezoelectricity. Once that is accomplished, now there's comprehension, because you're literally behaving like a crystal. You know, we're crystals, right? We know that about our bones and the teeth and the salts within our body, but we don't quite maybe know how to behave or function as that. And so when that sacred secretion is shot back up, applied pressure to the brain glands again, inciting the piezoelectric effect. In the Hawaiian culture, in Mu culture, we call this kulana or akaku, which basically means trance. Now you're in trance. But don't feel trance. You know, when I talk about trance and kulana and akaku, in popular culture, it's like you've left the body, you're no longer present. No, you're present. That's the gift. You are completely present. You are in what is known as superposition. Superposition. You don't need to leave the body or this awareness in order to access data and information. You are all encompassing now. It's superposition. So when we say akaku and kulana, trance, that's what I'm referring to. You're now in superposition. And so because you're behaving like a crystal now that to which has been illuminated, that to which has been disclosed, there's now comprehension. That's what you want to get to. And so when we do the oscillation up and down, it's so rapid, right? Feel it like this. This is so badass, you guys. Remember with Ulu, which is very similar to Kundalini, and once again, I'll mention Kundalini every once in a while. I've never engaged in Kundalini as a practitioner, so I can't fully speak on behalf of Kundalini. But what I can say is there's obviously similarities. And one is the repetition of breathing or body movement. And the reason being is because the repetition is so important in order to alleviate the suspicion of the linear. The linear must be satiated, otherwise it's never going to loosen its grip. When you go into Ulu and you're doing a design, we're going into 60 minutes now. Guess what's going to happen? That linear is like, oh, I feel safe now because I can see the pattern. I can see the pattern now. It's going to loosen its grip. You're in quantum. You're now in superposition. And so that direction, right, of the what at first it's slow, right? It's like we can see the measurement and the movement. It's like it's up here and now it's down. And it's going back up and it's down. It's like, oh, this is so fun. But what happens when we're in a proper what because the linear is going to release its grip, it's going to be so fast, you cannot measure it. You cannot be like, it's there and it's there, it's there. It's one bright light. That's what happens, right? You look at a movement, goes so fast, shh, it's just a light. That's when you're the crystal. You are the crystal. You are now the aura. Everything within you is now the crystal. You're in. Now you can collect data. And what's so great too is you're gonna be responsible with the retrieval of the data because you're a crystal. You're not gonna be a sloppy human, right? A confused human. It's like, I don't know. Oh, yes, no. No, you're a crystal. You're gonna be like, that is essential, that is essential, that is essential, that is essential. And then when you come back into the awareness of this plane, you'll be able to transit and transfer necessary data and information. We call this your contribution. Okay. Friends, I celebrate you and I champion you, and you deserve to be seen and heard. You deserve to offer your gift so that you can holla. But also remember, we deserve your gift. We deserve your contribution. Don't forget about us. And so as you are retrieving the data and you come back into this plane, you are going to transition and transfer sacred data for yourself and your hala, but also as a contribution for all of us. So, with that, and thank you so much to so many of you have been sharing on Instagram or some emails about what you're locating and finding about the correlation with Ulu, and a lot of the talk that has kind of exploded in the last, like, what would you say, kapuhinano, like 10 years, 5 years, that this people have been starting to talk about the drip.
Yes. Because we're all awakening the crystal within, right? So the remembrance is coming online, which then we can activate each other in the remembrance. I love that. It's the igniting, right? The enlightenment, literally becoming enlightened into the pineal gland. And in a lighter fluid, there's crystals, because when the crystals flick and it cracks together, there's this illumination. And when you see a flame, it has the dimensions of light, right? From the red down into the blue. And it's kind of the same as the red going up to the crown. So it's this igniting and this illumination. And I love what brother was saying of how we're all becoming activated crystals that are cleansed now, not just a crystal that's been lying there. We're crystals that are imprinted with our own frequencies, our own memories, our own artistry. And then what I was visualizing was that we're all planted on each specific grid lines all over the world. And that's how we become one, because our essence is going into Mama Gaia, into the inner waters, and then we're hitting each other. So it's like, yeah, we're not next to each other, but I feel you, I see you, I feel every part of our connection. And we may not be related through blood, but we're related through our remembrance, because we're all connected to Mama. And oh my God, when you're speaking, I'm just like, oh, just like feels so good, and I just want all of you guys to feel this magic, because it's like all of us carry this crystalline and the crystal, this sacred essential oil within us. And we've been bombarded with chemicals and toxins and fluoride and all of these things to keep us from remembering our true divinity. We are star magic, everybody. Remember.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for all of us to be in this relationship together, because as we do it together and everyone starts to remember, the whole earth will ascend higher and higher into spiritual evolution. And we are those pillars that is allowing this to awaken so that our keiki can be guided easier without all of these restraints, and we are the pillars to learn, like, hey, we can learn how to clean our water. We can learn how to do these different healing modalities to keep us clear of these and purify. So mahalo, brother, for being the pillar for us to lean on in this chapter of our lives.
Oh, so beautifully shared too. And you're right. What will happen when humanity once again consents to its crystalline? I truly feel the way that we will function and behave will simply be in that which is of the greatest potential for all. When we go into Uhane next month, we're gonna have to reconcile and have a reckoning with this thing called competition. Because what Kopuo Hinanako Ikalai was sharing is like, why are we inserting all these things that are stunting our crystalline? Like, why? Right? Control. There's this fascination with control, and I feel the root of control. This is just me, but brah, I'm gonna take you there. The root of control is competition. There's this fascination with competition, and therefore I have to insert distortions so that no one can be at this level. We're attempting to create this really juvenile pattern of who gets to, who doesn't. And so in that crystal line, it's so all-encompassing because competition doesn't even exist within that. There is just the celebration of everyone's potential. Even when I just say that, it's actually a little silly. That's not where we're at as a collective, to celebrate everyone's potential. Like, it kind of just feels natural. It feels kupono, as we would say in the culture, but yet, you look out in the world, war here, war, right? Greed, insecurities, hoarding. Enough, right? As the kupuna would say, bro, they come to a point, they're talking, enough. They just wiped it clean. And, that's what we're beginning to do within the Unihipili. As we do these motions, right? We're also just purifying. And I even love, in addition to the wings uncoiling, we can feel that the Unihipili, that foundation, she's like, boom, there it is. Right? It was tiny here. It's like, oh, I'm balancing on this beam. It's so hard. And the Unihipili just says, boom, there's a foundation. Run, fly, do whatever you want. Have fun, play, enjoy. Phenomenal world, earth reality, human event, organic event will likely never ever happen again. My goodness, you might as well just enjoy. Oh, the world's so hard. But does it have to be? Does it have to be so hard? Okay. So, I would love for us to honor a longer design of Onu together. In the members portal, I did post a video on potential stretches because, this design of Onu in like the Ulu catalog, it's actually considered intermediate, and it's considered intermediate because long durations of this dramatic movement, it can be very challenging to keep that up because it can be difficult. And so doing proper stretches before and after Ulu could be really supportive, just so that you're a lot more limber, not just within the spinal cord, but also your wingspan. You're just a lot more limber. Remember that you can modify. If you're coming to a place where you can't even lift your arms, I've done Onu before. We're going like 3 hours and I'm like, oh, I can't even lift my arm. Just remember, you can modify. You can modify by one, stopping movement altogether, but maintaining a vocal activation in the pattern of 3. And I think Brian said that he's been sharing aloha, aloha, aloha. And then you would pause, right? Aloha, 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 aloha. And then continue. This may be your experience in Onu and in any Ulu design, is you may be like, you know what, I'm gonna go in and out because I just know my body. But I wanna also invite you, don't do that because that's your pattern. Your pattern is just to say, I don't wanna do it, I'm tired. Challenge yourself. Because your body needs to be challenged. If you're going from carbon to crystalline, you're gonna have to challenge your body, brah. That's why many of us, we go through mutations, we get very sick, right? The body has to be challenged. And so if your pattern is just like, oh, I feel the littlest discomfort, I'm going to just do the vocal now. You're stuck in a pattern. So maybe be like, no, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going until like me, right? I was like, I can't even lift my arm. Aloha, aloha. I decide, I decide, I decide, I decide, and then continue. So there always has to be some kind of activity because remember, the linear is like observing you. The moment that you stop, the linear is like, I knew it. I knew you're unreliable. I knew it. Right? So you're being observed. And it's this thing called the linear. And the linear wants to feel safe. So gift it safety. Create a pattern. And remember, one of the other examples that Kupuhi Nanakoi Kalai shared is you can even continue movement but revise it. Remember, she did this. Kupuhi Nana, can you just share that once again, just so that we can have a refresher of that? Of the modification, so it's not as dramatic.
Exactly. So if your arms have a hard time doing the full release, do a simple movement. You can even do it smaller, right? And have the oscillation of back and forward, front and back. And then when I do this movement, you can kind of see that the shoulders, it goes back and forth, right? So the cracking of the back is what I'm really focusing on for me, especially to be able to receive and what areas for me need most movement. So allowing the fluidity of what comes natural for you, of what you want to focus on, and just taking it slow. So you can go up, you can do it this way, whatever feels most comfortable.
Yeah, and with the modification, just like Kopo was sharing, you may do that and then you'd be like, you know what? I'm ready to do the full design again. And then from there, you'll transition. So notice that there's many options for you to maintain an oscillation without stopping altogether. One of the big questions I get is, especially if you're doing it for long durations, I gotta take a drink of water. How do I do that? How do I grab something? Right? So just pause, do your vocal, okay? Grab whatever you need to grab and take a quick sip. And continue. I would say that's fine, okay? The only allowance is for the water. So don't if you're parched, you don't not drink water. Like, yes, attend to if you need to take water. Just be really creative about staying in a kind of awareness of what is happening, okay, with Onu. By the way,
in your mental mind, does that have any effect too if you're saying it within in the mind, or is the incantation of the voice more important?
The inward mental, that perfect. Because remember, and I'm aware that we may have some of our lahui, our ulukin, who do not have the potential to even move their body, okay? And so inward gaze, and concentrating on that is also sufficient. Okay? By the way, Kupo Hinana Kaui Kalai, how does it feel to have the most beautiful hair in the world? Gosh!
So cute.
Wow, that genetic line, the Ukrainian Hawaiian, is working out for you.
Mahalo.
Okay, and then I just also want to share that when you feel that you are complete with your design, the best way to integrate is, and this is just a recommendation, your body will let you know, right? The recommendation is when you feel like you are complete with Onu, you can pause, 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 and then place your hands in kulike, and then integrate. What I love to do when I'm in kulike is I'm very conscious that I'm breathing into the vertebrae. So with every breath, I'm oxygenating my spinal cord. And then from there, you begin to want to maybe start moving your body a little bit, right? Adjusting, adjusting, adjusting. Yes. Adjust. Some of us will go into Shavasana if that feels good for you, right? Shavasana is to lay down, and you can lay down and put your hands in kuliki as well, and breathe into the vertebrae while laying down as well. I like to sit up because I just feel the buoyancy so much more. I'm like more aware, right? I'm sitting upright, but I feel very buoyant. So the experience is just really fun for me. Laying down, of course, yes. But just remember, kulike can be really, really good for proper integration. And then also every breath oxygenating the iwi kuomo'o, the spinal cord. Okay. I would love to play some music. And so today I'm going to play some music that has maybe a more rhythmic tone to it, to really incite us, to really bring us into the activity of what is happening. Of course, before we go into ulu, depending on what ulu design, become very aware of what you're about to do. Right? We're about to uncoil our wings. We're about to purify the Unihipili. Wherever you feel you don't belong, hemo. Hemo. You don't belong, hemo. You can't be present, the world is too dangerous for you, hemo. You don't feel held, no one's holding you, hemo. You cannot cope, hemo. Bring yourself into the awareness, because otherwise, remember, you're in ulu, but it's superficial. It's a trend. I want you all to experience the magic that is ulu. It's miraculous. You know, it's going to be fun. Maybe we'll have like reunions, right? And people will share when they consciously experience the piezoelectric effect, where you're in your crystal. Yeah, it's life-changing. All right. So let's all just make sure that we are in a space to which we are free to move. Free to move. Also observe your immediate environment and be like, yep, nothing is destroying me, right? Nope, nope, nope. Okay, all right. If you feel moved to, you can stand while doing onu. Remember my recommendation though, is that when you stand, if your eyes are closed, your equilibrium may be a little off. I just don't want you to injure yourself. So if you stand, it will be good to like pivot your knees and then maybe even keep your eyes open, or go into a pattern where you close your eyes, open your eyes, close your eyes, open your eyes, just so that you don't injure yourself, okay? Sitting, I would encourage you to keep your eyes closed the whole time. If you have eye coverings, those are always really fun in Ulu. We recommend eye coverings in Ulu so that you have as little distraction of the exterior conditions as possible. And I would love to initially just honor the Hoi with all of you. Let's create our auric field, make sure that we're held in our auric field before we go into Ulu. Sitting cross-legged. Begin to breathe into your iwi kua mo'o, into your spinal cord. All 33 vertebrae into the brain glands. Let's place our awareness in the Unihipili, coccyx, sacral, lumbar, and we'll move up the vertebrae as we honor the Hoi. Let's do it just vocally first. Let's include the la'alima. Let the hands relax to your knees, palms facing up. Acknowledgement of that auric field surrounding us, this bubble that will hold us through the practice of Onu as we uncoil our wings, purify the feminine of all obstructions, affirm stability. I am coping. I am held. I am stable. I am coping. I am held. Hands in kulike. Aloha ma. Aloha ma. Aloha ma. Mahalo. Okay. I'm going in. I gotta take my clothes off. The clothes got a hemo, brah. Going in. All right. So I'm gonna play the music. And I'm going to invite us to go into our own unique design of Onu. You know the basics. You know your body. Allow your body to inform you. I would encourage you to begin in the proper design, at least begin in the proper design, and then begin to augment it and revise it in accordance to what your body is telling you and sharing with you, while also being aware that your body is going to challenge you. Keep going. You're reorienting your body and your nervous system. This is a lesson in coping that our Unihipili is sharing with us right now. All right. I love you all. Onu! Ume. Pause. Ume. Integrate. Hands in kulike. Breathe. All I am now is that which I have remembered myself to become. From a faraway place and a long time ago, long before I took this present birth. In this, the emotional age, we will experience not just the reversal of all historical processes, but its transcendence altogether into a condition of reality where the heart is supreme and the emotion is inseparable from meaning. The extremes that play out as mind and matter are reciprocated as higher rays, deeper than any planet, and consolidated within the emotion. It is here where thought engineered separation and so birthed our first trauma. There is nothing left but to become the emotion. Huna. Na na meo huna. Breathe into the ibikwa mo'o. Breathe into the coccyx. Breathe in, sacral. Oxygenate, lumbar. Bring oxygen to the thoracic. And exalt the cervical with your breath. Allow your hands to lay back on your knees, on your thighs. If you're laying down, on your side, palms facing up. Just notice the adrenaline in your body, all the synapses, the nervous system repairing itself. Attuned to all the places that were not accessible before this short design of Onu, consenting to the authority of the Unihipili. I am stable. I am coping. I am held. I am stable. I am coping. I am held. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. I am stable. I am coping. I am held. Aloha ma, aloha ma, aloha ma. When you're ready, you can open your eyes, only if you want to. You can stay where you are, wherever you are. I love to do my own assessment of what I'm feeling in the body. There's such invigoration in all these places in my body. For instance, right now my kneecaps feel so oxygenated, feel so good. I feel so limber right now. I feel so limber that there's this weightlessness. And this was only in 20 minutes of Onu. As you challenge yourself to accomplish longer durations, you will begin to feel the invigoration of all parts of your body to attain what is known as holistic. And holistic means no one part is explicable without referencing the whole. Allowing that holistic self, that cervical vertebrae, to be that to which gifts us that absolute buoyancy. So as we navigate this world of such contrast and challenge, it's not going to feel so threatening. In my own life, one of the greatest results of my dedication to Ulu is the world is friendly. The world is friendly. And I'm not uninformed. I know what's happening. My perspective has changed drastically. The world is more parts friendly to me, which means I don't gotta hide. I don't need to hide anymore. I would love to, of course, honor the completion of today with one of you offering a proper assessment of what we experienced in today. Example could be an assessment of the content that was shared today, or an assessment of the design that you experienced. And I see Daphne. Actually, Maggie, your hand was raised during the design. So I'm thinking that may have just occurred because of the AI picked up on something. If that was your experience and you're not making an assessment, can you drop your hand? If you are volunteering for an assessment, you can keep your hand up. Is there anything you want to share?
Wow. So my experience, oh man, I felt this kind of like, especially in my arms, this like burning and this like ripping. And it was like, but it was like in this discomfort. It made me visualize like my fascia being moved and allowing the fascia to move, which where they say that within the fascia stores the memories. So all of these like burdenings of anything that's holding my unihipili back, just being able to be flung out. And I have a crystal here on both sides to, it was assisting me in like releasing and having the crystals help me to alchemize. So realizing that we have tools not only within our kino, but to utilize to kind of remove the burdens. And I love that the arms come through the heart in some way, right? So it's like, you know, when you weigh your heart wants to weigh lighter than a feather, right? To like unleash the heart and releasing it. So connecting how within the fascia we store all these memories that may have been dormant within us, and utilizing our wings to fly, to flick it out and release them so that we can become limber and fluid and buoyant and soar and fly and see from higher perspectives and not just constricted. So that was my own experience. Thank you, brother, for that. And I do definitely, it's funny, the contrast, right? Like while you're in it, you're like, oh my God, this is heavy, this is burning. And then once you come down and you settle into this kulike, it's like, and I'm back. Like that little form of discomfort and all the shifts and changes to reorient you back into this homeostasis. It's beautiful to kind of see both perspectives. So mahalo.
Yeah, mahalo. Thank you. And I see you, brother Dennis. But with an assessment, I'm only gonna call one person on. With that being said, though, so in the first part of January, we're gonna assemble for another community sharing ceremony. And I'm going to invite everyone to join us. I believe it might be the second weekend. Of course, I'll clarify that in an upcoming email. We'll have a proper community sharing um, ceremony, and we're going to be doing this assessment, one person offering a proper assessment. And just to reiterate, it's just on the content that was shared or the experience within the portal that we experienced together. It is not community sharing. And if you raise your hand, then that is your moment. Meaning we're not going to do duplicates so that everyone gets an opportunity. And also, with that being said, I realize what kind of courage it takes to be the one to do the community, to do the assessment. Okay, so thank you so much for everyone's eagerness. And without further ado, Maggie, please, on behalf of your Lahui, what is the assessment?
Mahalo. Okay, so first the body assessment. I'm really like enthralled in the levity, in the extreme buoyancy, and this radial pulsation around my coccyx that is like a full-on torus sensation that then it's like my whole body during the ulu was like in such an invigorated trance, but I was very aware of needing to stay in my body. Like I almost felt like it was so powerful that and I go into trance very easily just because of who I am, what I am, whatever. And so it was very interesting to like play at that point of like allowing the trance, but staying in the body to not get like almost lightheaded because the choreography like takes over and you're just like in this vortex, or I was just in this vortex of movement that, and you're like, whoa, I could really feel the power. And I so boldly raised my hand because I had kind of come to stillness maybe 2 seconds before you kind of called us into stillness. And I had a moment of self-judgment where I was like, is this really my moment of stillness? And then I was like, well, I'm just going to try it out. And then that was when it was called. And I raised my hand because in that exact moment, and it's interesting because it's happening again. So I live in a Sufi Muslim country. So 5 times a day, the mosque calls for prayer. And I was asking my husband, like, what are they saying actually? And they said they're yelling right through this loudspeaker that I can hear at my house. And they're yelling like praise to God, basically, praise to God. And he said they do it to invigorate everyone to pray. So at the exact moment, I'm getting chills that you called that, I hear this like, I mean, it's loud inside my house, the call to prayer. And I think of coherence. And I think of, wow, I don't know how many Muslims there are on the planet right now, but perhaps 1 billion people are now doing prostrations in prayer to God. And it's like, that is the power of Ulu for me. Like Ulu is that for me, is that prostration of the God within and of the levity that we all can choose. And that was interesting because in that moment of stillness, I was like, okay, I decide, and so in this assessment, it's like, you know, I see the beauty because we are 106 right now. I don't know how many there will be, how many, right? Whatever. But we're all over the planet. And it's really the potency of our intention that creates this coherence that we get to bathe in. And the fact that Muslims are doing their version of it. We're doing our version of it, but it's the same. It's all the same. So I thank you for receiving me, and I thank you for bringing us into this place where we can draw on each other's coherence to continue and to feel the strength of our humanity within each other reflected. Mahalo. Aloha ma.
Aloha ma. What a beautiful synchronicity with that call to prayer. And I love, Maggie, how you're sharing, we can all honor our own call to prayer. And thank you so much for sharing this. And when you initially shared about the possibility of leaving the body, I've experienced that too, right? And what I have come to know and remember is that whatever I'm experiencing is an extension of the body. And so, as far as I may travel, right, in Ulu, I'm always remembering that it's just an extension of where and what I am right now. And it feels like the aura, right? The aura just begins to expand and expand and expand. And of course, holistic means no one part is explicable without referencing the whole. So I'm like, I've just expanded and I've just enveloped the entire planet, right? Mahalo. Thank you for that beautiful assessment. Hi, Zaina. Aloha. I love you completely. Aloha ma.
Aloha ma.
Kumu ikimanu. What would you like to part? And Kumu, this is the last time we're meeting as a group before the Gregorian transition. So no pressure, but what would you like to say?
Thank you. Maggie, I really like what you just said because that was your experience. We come to this group adding our own experiences, and it's really wonderful to hear about your experience and wonderful about hearing what Ulu has done for you. And I'm hoping that it resonates to all of us here because Ulu is about an individual, your pattern, your path, your journey. That's you. And I like the difference between prayer, because prayer, that loud noise of prayer, the more you do ulu, the more that you conjure up all this stuff that was being suppressed for many, 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 many years is finally coming to surface. And the more it comes to surface, the more things you're going to find out about who you are as a person. So Maggie, that was excellent. That was really good. And I hope when you do community share, it's Maggie has set a precedence to all of us about what Ulu has done for you, her, me, everyone. And that sharing, of course we come from different backgrounds, different journeys, but we're all one. We're all in Lokahi. There's always a balance, there's always a unity, which always comes back to Ulu, period. Nothing else, nothing more. And I really want to thank Kapua Hinano and of course our brother Keoni for being the vessels of this practice. And it's very important. Like for me, when we were doing Ulu, I was doing my own thing, my own way of Ulu. Yeah. With the core basics that Keoni and Kapua Hinano has taught us. Those core basics are really important. So as we continue our journey into the coming new year, May you strive with Ulu. May you be at peace with yourself. Love a little more. And care a little more. And just be happy. So, mahalo.
Love a little more, care a little more, and be happy. Yes, the golden rule. Maybe that's the golden rule of Pilina, right? That's what grants sustainability. Thank you so much for sharing, Kumu Ikemanu. When we all gather again next year, we're gonna transition into the conversation of our thoracic vertebrae and the uhane. This does not mean we're vacating the Unihipili. Continue your exploration and refinement of Unihipili. Continue to do Onu. What we're going to do next year is we're going to begin to infuse the thoracic with the Unihipili. You're going to empower your internal masculine. Finally, the internal masculine has that to which is stable, can cope, and that which will hold it. Mahalo. I love you all completely. And, in the meantime, the website, right? Our members portal. It's a book. I have applied so much content in the website. It's literally a book. And so enjoy, read it thoroughly. Everything I talked about, the what et, it's all there. It's all there. Take the moments for you to enjoy reading the book that is the members portal of Ulu. You're gonna find a lot of surprises in there too. One being, I noticed in the comments where it's a playlist. It's all there. It's all there. It's just requiring you to take the space to be present with the book that is the Ulu members portal. Okay, I feel like in honor of what we experienced together, and in honor of the Unihipili, let's all repeat over and over again. I am stable. I am coping. I am held. I am stable.
I am stable. I am coping. I am held.
I am stable.
Stable. I am coping. I am held.
I am
Stable.
I'm stable.
I am coping. I am held. I am stable. I am coping. I am held.
I am coping. I am
Stable.
held. I am
I am
stable.
coping.
I am
I
coping.
am held.
I
I
am
am stable.
held.
I
I
am
am coping.
coping.
I
I am
held.
held.
I am
Stable.
coping.
Coping.
Held.
I am held. I am stable.
Coping.
I am
Held.
coping.
I am
I am held. I am
coping.
stable. I am coping. I am held.
Stable.
Stable.
I am
I am
stable.
coping. I am held.
Held.
Stable.
I am
I am coping.
I am
stable.
I am stable.
Coping. I
I
am
am coping.
I
I
am
am held.
stable.
stable.
I am
Stable.
coping. I am
Stable.
held.
I
I'm
am held.
coping. I'm held.
I am coping. I
I'm
am held.
stable.
I am
I am coping.
coping.
And I'm held. Haole makahiki ho. Haole makahiki ho. Aloha ma.
Aloha. Ma.